In this video, I'm going to show you how to enable your users to ask questions of specific knowledge bases if you have multiple knowledge bases uploaded. The first thing we'll do is upload our knowledge bases. For this example, I'm going to be using two novels by Wilkie Collins, The Moonstone and The Woman in White. Then, I want my users to be able to ask questions only about the specific novel they're interested in. In order to do this, we'll first need to create separate workflows for each novel. You can create a new workflow by clicking the Add Workflow button in the Explorer. So let's create a new workflow for The Moonstone and a new workflow for The Woman in White. Great. Now, we need a way to associate each workflow with a specific knowledge base. We can use this by using the folders feature in Botpress. First, let's create a folder for each novel. You can do this by selecting the folder icon in the Explorer. So let's create a folder for The Moonstone and a folder for The Woman in White. Awesome. Now what we need to do is house each workflow in its respective folder. So I'll put the Moonstone there, and I'll put the Woman in White there. And we also need to do the same thing for our respective knowledge bases. So I'll put the Moonstone in there, and I'll put the Woman in White in here. What we've done here is tell Botpress, or tell our bot, that we want to associate this workflow with this knowledge base, and this workflow with this knowledge base. So when your user asks a question, it'll only pull information from that specific knowledge base. Now that our folders are set up, we need to make sure that our users end up in the correct workflow. To do this, we'll use a multiple choice card, and I'll set it up like so. I'll begin by asking the user which novel they're interested in. Which novel are you interested in? And each choice will correspond to one of our novels, so they can choose either The Moonstone or The Woman in White. Great. Okay, so now when I'm drawing paths at the end of each of these choices, I'm going to use the Execute a Workflow option to make sure they end up in the right place. This will send them to that workflow. So if they've chosen the Moonstone, they end up in the Moonstone workflow, and if they've chosen the Woman in White, they'll end up in the Woman in White workflow. Great. Now, let's add some cards to each of these workflows so we can test everything out. So in the Moonstone workflow, just to make sure that we're in the right place, I'll send a simple message saying, "You're interested in the Moonstone." Then we'll be able to ask our user a question. So I'll use a raw input capture card and say, "What is your query?" Great. Now we also have to make sure that knowledge answering is enabled on this node so that it'll pull the answer from a knowledge base. Let's do the same thing for the Woman in White workflow. So I'll send a simple message saying, "You're interested in the Woman in White," and I'll ask the same question. So I'll use another raw input capture card, and we'll say, "What is your query?" Okay, great. Now that we've put everything together, let's test it out. So I'll say hi to my bot, and it'll ask me to select which novel I'm interested in. Let's select The Moonstone. Great, so we ended up in the right workflow. Now I'll ask it a question. I'll say, "Who is Rachel Verinder?" She's the main character of this novel. Remember, our bot is now going to pull the answers directly from this novel. And there we have it, a correct answer. Awesome. Happy bot building!